Hi, my name is NTSIKELELO MZIBOMVU. I'm a visual artist and an author. And welcome to Unconditional Love works showing at Hallamark House. I'm showing these works to the public. And it's the first time I'm actually showing these works. So I'm happy to have you here. Happy to have you here as a visitor and as a resident. As you would know, Hallamark House is part residential and part hotel. So thank you very much for taking time to journey with me and have a look and enjoy the works that I have prepared. I'm from an artist family. I'm an author, and my works are pretty much influenced by abstract feel. I like mixing abstract in my paintings and also within the abstract work. So I'm gonna pretty much talk about what the works entail, and you'll kind of get a feeling of what I'm talking about. So the whole Unconditional Love body of work is on fatherhood and masculinity. The work aims to research and address through art, dialogue, issues that affect men, such as mental health, fatherhood, family, toxicity, and relationships. So this is in an attempt to redress some of the destructive behavior and foster a positive narrative around men and fatherhood. So, the topic was inspired by several stories from men in a book called The Father is Stranger, which was edited by Luvalo, and to which I'm also a contributor. And to start with the title Unconditional Love, it touches on the idea of unconditional love because they are the words, in fact, the words unconditional, conditional, and unloved in the words unconditional loved. So these are the different ways in which men can relate to the world and the world can relate back to him. And these pieces capture each and every one of those elements in some way. These two pieces are titled Nkosikazi, and the rationale for both of them is the same. They are portraits that speak to the wife figure. That as a man, once we've discovered our masculinity and our purpose, then normally what is missing in an ideal or in a heterosexual situation is someone to complete that picture, and who is Nkosikazi, and this is your wife. Now this is a very traditional but very modern approach to portraiture, a very abstract. Love the hatches. And I love using hatches, but it speaks to the modern woman who is rooted in their culture, and they can be corporate driven, they can be whatever they want to be, but they complete whatever work the man has done to them, for themselves and to themselves internally, and they themselves are a reflection. So it's very rare to find someone that completes you in that way, and it's a beautiful thing, a blessing when a man has found Nkosikazi, a wife that is with him through and through. And these pictures or these works, these portraits celebrate Nkosikazi. So this piece and these two pieces, basically they speak about the joys of experiencing the dynamism and growth of a girl child, and seeing her confident and expressing herself. As a father, when you're there, it gives you a very deep connection with that growing level of femininity, and also being able to achieve an honest and authentic relationship with your daughter, a friendship, being their cheerleader, and encouraging them to be the best versions of themselves, and everything beautiful around it, and being princesses in your world, people that we hold very dear. And once again, I look for simplicity, minimalism, abstraction, freedom, because I feel those are the elements that express exactly who kids are, free and there to play. So definitely some of the more amazing pieces, and these ones are very confident, very out there. She's there, she knows that the father is there to back her up, and so she can be who she can, or who she wants to be, and the best version of herself. And this is what these pieces represent. So these are some of my favorite abstract collection pieces, and also I think the most vibrant, but I guess that's with all the abstract work. So for instance, this one is titled Live in the Moment, and it's a depression piece. I made this during COVID, and basically it was about finding hope, at a time where people were dying and everything was terrible, people were losing jobs and so forth, and just remembering that there's still life after COVID, and that we should live in the moment and not get swallowed by it. So once again, my abstract has a lot of journeying in it. As you'll see with the perspective lines, everybody's going somewhere, everybody is part of a journey, and we are all part of this collective that is moving forward, this universal moving forward, which is also captured in this abstract piece over here. And these elements you'll find them in bits and pieces throughout my abstract work. But I want to talk about the squares there, because the squares are really, if you look at my work, like I said, you'll find squares almost in every piece. And those squares, the origin of them is the idea of the rat race, and we've all heard the saying, think outside the box. And then the question that I ask is, which box? Because when we think about our conditioning, it's a set of boxes. It's boxes after boxes after boxes after boxes. And so we are this collection of boxes that we then one day have to think outside of and come up with new ways of being, while the conditioning doesn't agree to it. So that's why I have these boxes in my work, because there's a common theme of questioning how we're conditioning ourselves, how we're conditioning our children, how we're conditioning society, and how society is conditioning us in return, and whether or not we ask the question whether or not can we think outside the box. So that one is the red race. It's everybody trying to follow a certain path, a certain plan of living, which involves schooling, marriage, and so basically asking if those ideas are still relevant to this day, and culturally, do they still have a place, or is it something that is being moved out? So that one's titled You and I, and this one is titled Give Me Space. So these pieces basically are abstract representation, and also just to remind us to play, just to be kids. So just to always tap into the child in us, and to look for the honesty and the simplicity of life within childlike thoughts and within childlike art. And I guess this is why these are some of my favorites, because they take me back to a place where I can be a child. This selection of works are very close to my heart, because they speak about a very sensitive subject in fatherhood, and that is being a father to a child with disabilities. Now, in this case, a child with autism, and but at the same time, finding ways to experience the joys of watching them grow and develop and in their own way and express themselves, and so these paintings represent that. So they're capturing also the joys of watching my son play, and also noticing that opposite to the paintings of the girl child, he is not in your face as the previous paintings, but rather in his own world, in his own magic, never focused on what is happening on the outside, but always focusing on what he is doing and the joys of what he is doing. And there's a great level of magic and lesson that I find in that as well, because then it reminds us that what's important in life is really what is inside. And to watch him, you can see that what is inside is far more beautiful and it doesn't really matter what the rest of us think. So these are very beautiful paintings in that regard for me, because they touch the essence of joy and happiness and the human condition in its most beautiful form, a non-detached, or rather a detached human condition, detached from social constructs, from rules, from whatever we think it should be, and the beauty of appreciating all of that. So these two pieces, Mama's Jongile and like father, like son. So this one is really about having a mature female figure in a man's life. So that aunt that reprimands you, that aunt that tells you to quit the drinking, or that aunt that tells you to go back home, take care of your wife, the aunt that teaches you about women and how to handle a woman. She's street smart, she's lived, she's been through it all, she understands it, and she's there, you know. So this is an appreciation of her, and she's also very concerned about the conditioning and your well-being. So it's about appreciating the mature women in our lives, the aunts that guide us and help us to be better men. And then this drawing is really like father, like son, and it's appreciating that our boys, our sons, they become what we are, and even down sometimes to how we dress and how we carry ourselves. And it's a reminder that we should be the examples that we want our kids to be, our sons to be, and we should teach them how to be gentlemen and carry themselves well through and through. So absolutely love these two pieces. Once again, here there's a bit of abstraction, but instead of using hatching, I use paint and a loose brush, just to capture the vibrancy of the aunt and her various sides, which talk to her depth and the depth of her experiences. Yeah. Men are trash. And so basically it's around male suicide. South Africa is one of the highest male suicide rates in the world, and in a country that demands that we fight femicide and children's abuse, the abuse and torture that men go through at the hands of their partners goes unnoticed. The scars are not always visible, and the emotional and mental breakdowns are seldom public. Talking about it is an admission of failure that challenges the very essence of masculinity, and in some cases men would instead take their lives than open up. The piece is a call to societal consideration of the gender challenges we face, as opposed to the opposite approach that continues to divide the family structure. It just reminds us that men are human as well. As we're walking into Hallmark House, we come across Thorn, the restaurant, and there are 4 pieces of mine down here. The most popular right now are these, it's basically the triptych titled Watch Me Play. And it's basically an abstract piece of capturing the essence of children playing, but also speaking to how sometimes fathers are denied access to their kids and what they miss out on when they cannot access their kids, when they cannot watch their kids play. And so this piece captures the joy that a father feels when they're able to watch their kids play. And in the abstract works, in all my abstract works, there's an element of journeying. We have those horizon lines and perspective lines to help us maybe talk about everybody's journey, that the kids have a journey, you have a journey, and that journey could be leading to somewhere, whether detrimental or beneficial to the child, in this case, depending on whether they have a father present or not. So also then there's the squares on the piece, which also talk to conditioning. So all my pieces will have squares in it, because the squares represent conditioning and questioning how are we as a society conditioning ourselves and our kids, and how can we then better foster a better situation for our kids and a better narrative. Thank you for joining me on this visual walkabout. The works are available and the catalog is available at Hallmark House. There is a QR scan, and also should you need any help, you can ask any of the managers to assist you. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the works, and I look forward to engaging with you further. Signing off, NTSIKELELO MZIBOMVU Art Studio.